Alicia, I don't have any HR experience. How do I break into the field? This is a question that I get asked so many times. So I thought today is the day where I make a video for you so you know exactly what you should be doing if you've got no HR experience but you want to get into the field. So stay tuned because you're going to want to hear what I've got to say in this video. So my first point is, do your research. Why do you want to get into HR? Like, what's your reasoning behind it? Why did you think, you know what, HR is what I want to get into. I've got no experience, but that's where I want to go. Really think about your why. Your why needs to be strong as to why you want to go into HR, because if you want to make a successful career out of it, you really need to believe in your abilities, your current skill sets, and how that can transfer over to HR. And also you need to have that vision for your career path so you can keep taking those steps. So if you don't have a clear understanding right now as to why you want to go into HR, it actually might be difficult for you in the job search because you don't really understand yourself. So please, before you even think about going to get a job and applying and all of that, actually take some time to evaluate your reasoning, because HR might not be for you. HR might not be for you. It might be a different field that you're actually willing to go into based on who you are as an individual. So please take that time to do the research. Also, when I say understand your why, please understand your why. Sometimes I ask people, why do you want to get into HR? And they're like, you know, I just really love people and I think that's really going to be a great benefit for me working in HR because I'm just so good with people, That's too vague. I'm so sorry. That's too vague. Just because you love people doesn't mean you're going to be a good fit in HR. HR, actually, our job and our role is to support the organization. We're not necessarily supporting the people of the organization. Yes, we are taking them into consideration and mind because obviously the employee experience is very important to us. So yes, being a people person is an aspect of HR, but it's not the full picture. So please actually do some research and understand what HR is and how we support the business and how we work as a function, because there's so many different functions. I'm going to go into that in a minute, but take the time to understand what HR is before you go into it. So within the HR field, you've got different functionalities and there's many different aspects and specialisms within it. Now, I've done a video called HR Generalist versus HR Specialist, so it's going to pop up on the top of the screen now. Really go and have a deep dive into that video just to understand what the differences are and to understand what type of role may be suited for you. Now, many people who are just entering the HR field, usually they will go for a generalist role, because with the generalist role, that is covering many aspects of HR. So you get to experience many of them, and you can maybe, if you want to specialize in the future, you can pick a field later on based on how you thought that was for you and how you was within that role when you was doing the generalist role. So it's good to explore your options and really understand the different functionalities, what would work best for you. So please make sure you're researching that as well. Just to note as well, HR is not just payroll, employee relations and recruitment, because so many people think that's just HR. HR is hiring and HR is firing people. No, there are many different aspects of HR that once you do that deep dive and you understand what they're about, you actually might be very, very interested and intrigued in it. For example, I'm very interested in organizational design and development. So this is an area that I'm exploring, and also learning and development as well. So there are many different areas. Don't just think HR is hiring, firing. Do some research, understand the specialisms, and then create your path of action in terms of getting that job based on that. So number 2 is, please ensure that your transferable skills are communicated clearly on your HR CV. You need to tailor your CV to meet the description of that HR job that you're going for, right? So you might be thinking, I've got no experience. How am I going to even get the job if I've got no experience? Well, how you're going to get the job is how well you communicate your transferable skills on your CV and your interview to the hiring managers. I repeat, how well you confidently, and I'm going to express the confidently because it's important, how well you confidently communicate your transferable skills on your CV and in your interview to the hiring manager. This is very, very, very important because many HR job descriptions and job roles that you come across are probably going to say, oh, we need somebody with this many years of experience. Even for entry-level roles, it's crazy. I don't understand it myself, right? But some entry-level roles, they're asking for 1 to 2 years of experience and you don't even have the experience. How do you do it? Well, this is how you do it. Your experience, regardless of what you've come from, regardless of what jobs you've done in the past, right, are all transferable. So even if that job description says, I'm looking for 2 years of experience, right? 2 years of experience, that's fine. You've got experience. You have probably 2 years of experience or more in the other jobs that you're coming out of, or if it's university that you're coming straight out of, you've got transferable skills within the degree that you did when it came to doing group work, when it came to analysis, when it came to, actually doing deep dive research in certain aspects. You've got some kind of experience, right? So just believe in yourself in that sense. And with the transferable skills, you need to ensure, because I did say before, confidently express them, right? You need to confidently be able to express and communicate these so that it shows that even though you've not done the job, right, you've done what it is that they're looking for. So I'm going to give you an example. Somebody who's breaking into HR is probably going to be getting an entry-level administration role, okay? And you might have come from, let's say you worked in a retail job or you worked in hospitality. So you've worked in teams. We'll take hospitality, right? You've worked in an environment where you are a cashier, but you're the cashier and you need to ensure that the correct information is relayed to whoever is making that food for that individual, right? So you've got to communicate very clearly. You need to be paying very clear attention to what that customer is saying, because if you get that wrong, that could be detrimental. Think about someone who's got an allergy, and if you don't ask them the right questions around their allergies, or you don't ensure that that's been checked before you make them order the food, they could have a reaction, right? What I'm trying to say is, with that experience, right, that you've got there, that you've had in hospitality, you pay a lot of attention to detail. In HR as an administrator, let's say you're working with payroll and you are adding in somebody's salary. Someone's just started in the organization. You need to make sure that the right salary is added onto payroll so they get paid properly. Or there's a specific request, maybe they've got a welcome bonus, and that's not something people normally get, but this welcome bonus is something that this individual's got, and it's a certain amount. And if you forget that welcome bonus, if that's someone who's traveling internationally and needed that extra income to support them in terms of settling into the country, then that could be detrimental for them. Do you see what I'm saying? So in terms of the way you communicate, it doesn't have to be anything to do with HR. It's just the actual skill that they're looking for. If you're very confident in communicating that skill, right, you are 100%, no shadow of a doubt, right? If you don't get the job, they're going to be considering you highly. So you're going to be at that position where you're shortlisted and you are part of the group of individuals that they're like, yes, we want this person, right? That's where you want to be, but you need to communicate clearly. You can't be just saying, oh yeah, so I worked in hospitality and I'm good at communication, and I feel like I'm good for this. You can't speak like that. You cannot speak like that, okay? You need to speak with confidence. You need to communicate yourself clearly. You could be someone, right? Let's just say somebody is actually, they've come from HR, they've had 1 to 2 years experience as an administrator and they're looking for a new job, and you're up against that person, right? That person, they could potentially, let's say they don't communicate properly. They don't communicate their transferable skills in the best way. And you're that confident person and you believe, yeah, I've got no HR experience, but I am very, very good at what I do in X, Y, and Z. And I believe that due to that, I will be able to add tremendous value to your organization. If you show them, and remember, communication is an important aspect of HR as well. I'm going to talk about this later on in the video. if you show them from the bat that you are a good communicator, they're going to look at other ways in which you'd probably fit right into their organization in terms of your communication. Because when you go into a HR role, regardless if you're an administrator or director, you are speaking to many different stakeholders on different levels. You're speaking to external stakeholders, you're speaking to senior leads, potentially VPs, vice presidents, you're talking to people on all levels. You need to know how to communicate. So if they can see that confidence, you're good, you are good. So make sure you are communicating your transferable skills. And I do have services, by the way, to support you with that. So if you're like, Anisha, I need you because you seem like you know what you're talking about, please give me a call, message me. All my links are in the description, so then I can help you with all of that. So point number 3 is try to get some voluntary experience or some internship that's going to help you to add some type of experience onto your application. Now, I can use myself as an example because I actually entered the HR field with no experience either. I got most of my experience from customer service. I was working in customer service for 5 years prior to being a HR professional. So I honed down on that. But in terms of trying to get my job as an intern, I actually did some unpaid experiences. I was a recruitment assistant for like a week, and then COVID came and I wasn't able to carry that on. So, and I was also a learning and development assistant for a few months on a voluntary basis. Just once a week for a few hours, I was helping one of the leads in a startup organization to create a learning experience. So I did that whilst I was doing my undergraduate degree whilst I was doing my master's degree for HR. So in that time period, I was like, I have no experience. How can I get some? So even if it's just helping out at your local CIPD branch, I'm sure there's opportunities for you to do that. If you're thinking of joining the CIPD, for those of you who don't know what the CIPD is the professional body for HR and learning and development professionals in the UK. So there are branches across the UK who you could reach out to. They might be doing some certain activities. There might be volunteering opportunities that you could go for, just to say that you've been a part of the CIPD branch and you've supported and assisted in some way in a voluntary basis. So voluntary experiences can really support you. They can really support you if you've got no HR experience at all. And I would definitely recommend you trying to do something, or if it's just trying to find an internship for a few months, just to show that, look, I've gone out of my way to try and get some experience before I get a full-time job in HR. So it's on your portfolio of things that you've done. It can back up any further transferable skills that you've got from your previous employment in different areas outside of HR. So definitely hone in on the internships and the voluntary experiences. So my next point is to network. You've most likely heard the saying, networking is your net worth. I agree, because the way that you network is most likely going to help you on your job search to get into a different field. Now, networking can take the form of many different things. So you could be looking for people on LinkedIn who are in HR, who are in a company that you want to go to, and you can reach out to them and just ask them for 10 to 15 minutes of their time just to understand a little bit about what they do in their role. Now, I think this is great for not only you networking and being able to speak to different people in the HR industry, but you're also learning more about what they're doing, because HR in every single organization, HR is different. It's not the same, that they don't operate the same. So you can have a business partner who says they're a HR business partner, but predominantly they're focused on employee relations. Or you can have a business partner who's much more so a generalist, who does the employee relations. They focus on recruitment, they focus on learning and development, they focus on compensation and benefit. They're doing everything. So it's good to network, find out what people in the role that you want to go into are doing, find out how they got there, find out what they did. There might be some tips and tricks that they can share with you and be like, actually, I was like you, I didn't have any HR experience either, and this is what I did to get into the field. So you can get help that way, but also you can get yourself out there in a way where they can say, do you know what? I really enjoyed our conversation. So let's say you've booked in a call with someone for 10, 15 minutes, really enjoyed your conversation, I'll put your name down because there is a position at the moment for HR administrator. So I'll just mention your name and, let you know how the application process has gone for that. Some companies haven't got their open positions for HR on LinkedIn or Indeed. Some of them have just opened up right now and they're not there, but you could be exploring those opportunities before other people because you're actively trying to get your job. Now, I understand this is a lot of effort, but we're in a time now where you have to go the extra mile because the job market isn't a joke right now. It is very competitive, especially in HR at the moment. It's very, very competitive to get into the field. So you need to be pulling out all the stops. So I do think networking online is a great way to do that. Also, going to events in person. Now, I am actually going to try and I'm saying this on YouTube now because I really want to do this. I really want to put an event together for HR professionals to just gather and for us to be able to mingle and be able to connect and network. I think that would be great. But for the meantime, you need to search for some HR networking events, and sometimes you don't need to just go to HR networking events. You can go to non-HR networking events. There's tech events that are happening. Think about it. If you're trying to be HR in tech, there might be an opportunity available for you. For example, I'm going to a networking event on Wednesday, so in a few days. And in this event, they've said to me, if you want to put your CV out to the company who's sponsoring this event, then before you get to the event, they're already going to have your CV. So there might be a job opportunity for you, right? This is the sort of thing you need to be looking out for, trying to find different events that you can go to for different types of networks of people. So this one I'm going to, this is the BYP network. This is for Black young professionals, and they put on events all across the year. So I'm taking my opportunities and I'm going to events to meet people. I could find my mentor there, a new mentor. I could find a coach there. I've already, in networking events I've gone to in the past, I didn't even go there for the purpose of finding a mentor, but I came out of a networking event with a mentor just because I got speaking to somebody. So I value networking. You, as someone with no HR experience, should also value networking and trying to connect with people who are in the field, who could get you a position in the door. I think networking is probably the next best thing now, like probably the number one thing, not even the next best thing. I would say the number one thing that you should be doing if you've got no experience and you're trying to break into HR, 100%. So my next point is to ensure that you are proficient in using technology that will be required in HR. Now, for somebody who's got no experience in HR, they're probably looking for somebody who has some type of experience with certain technologies. One of the biggest ones is Excel. I think if you can tell them, look, I know how to use Excel, I can do VLOOKUPs, I can do pivot tables, which are some of the main things that I used in HR from an Excel point of view. That's a good start, because in HR, it's not only Excel that we're using, there's also HR information systems, where you will have absent management data that you have to be able to manage within a system. Obviously payroll as well, there's certain systems utilized for that. So you need to just showcase that you're proficient in using software, and if you don't know it now, it might be helpful to take a few courses. I know there's quite a few free courses out there where you can learn how to use Excel more, and maybe some courses just to understand, or just some to read up on how HRIS, so HR information systems, work. Just so that if they ask you, oh, have you ever used it before, or, are you proficient in it, you can discuss and talk about it. That's the main thing. And if you can even be honest with them and say, look, I actually know how you utilize this. I'm actually doing some research into understanding it a little bit more, because I haven't got the specific experience, but I am willing to learn. I'm willing to utilize what I've learned and provide that value in your organization. So you need to just be very confident in how you position yourself if you don't necessarily have the experience using certain information systems. It's all about you going away and understanding how are you going to be able to learn how to use these things. Do you know where to find that information? Do you know who you'd be asking if you needed some support just to learn how to use it more? Or is there another software that you've used in a previous experience that you've been in, which might be similar to a HRIS? You just don't know. So it's about doing the research, understanding what technologies are needed and used in HR, and going away, finding out more about that, and being able to communicate how you've learned about it in the interview, and also making sure that you outline on your CV that it's a software that you are learning to use or you have used. So just make sure you're proficient in technology. My next point is certifications. Certifications is not something that you need. It's not like a legal requirement to have a certification to be in HR, so you don't necessarily need it. But it seems like the CIPD qualification is definitely desired by many organizations now when you're looking at job descriptions for HR. So I would definitely say that if you are thinking of studying a qualification, then it could definitely be a good idea. I studied a level 7 CIPD qualification as part of my master's degree when I had no experience whatsoever in HR. Now, you can still be successful in that. I had no experience in HR, but I still did well in my degree. I do have a background of psychology, so that could have helped me a little bit. I think it did. But at the same time, I was very passionate about wanting to get into HR from the get-go when I signed up for that master's degree, and I knew that I was going to increase my chances by trying to get experiences whilst I was doing my master's degree to then get the job. So I would say certifications are definitely something that you should consider. If you don't know anything about HR and you're thinking, you know what, it would be beneficial for me, to be honest, to get a certification so I've got a better chance of getting in, go for it by all means. But you don't necessarily need to have a certification to get into. I think if you're very confident with your experiences previously and you've done your research, you understand HR because you've researched it before you've gone to any interview or anything like that, and you can easily show the connections between your transferable skills and what you need to do in HR, trust me, you can get a job that way. But certifications, it is helpful to have it. I'm not saying you don't need it whatsoever. I do think certifications are helpful. There could though be an opportunity when you do get into your job that they might pay for you to do the certification, because sometimes they're looking for people who want to get qualified in the CIPD. So that's also something you should look out for. But I definitely think certifications it's going to help you. It's definitely going to help you. You could be at different points though in your your career. So some people may be transitioning into HR and they're much more senior. If you're much more senior and you're trying to transition into HR, then I do think that you might be in with a better chance of getting a HR role just because of the extensive amount of experience you've had in a different area, and that knowledge, taking that into a HR role as well, is definitely desirable. For someone who's just starting out and you don't have much experience, having the CIPD and saying, look, I'm actually studying towards it, I'm doing X, Y, and Z to get this qualification because I really want to get into this field, is going to be beneficial, because that was me. So I'm just going from my experiences. It was beneficial for me, so it could be beneficial for you, but it really depends. Finally, my final point is, it goes back to what I was saying a little while back when it came to the transferable skills. Communication is key in all aspects of your job application process, okay? I repeat, communication is key in all aspects of your job application process. Now, as a HR professional, one of the most desirable, and I would say it is mandatory for someone to have this skill in order to get into HR, is the way you communicate. Now, as a HR professional, we communicate with, as I said before, loads of different stakeholders across the organization, right? So you need to ensure that your communication in your interview, on your CV, in the emails that you're sending, in the messages that you're sending when you're reaching out to people, it has to be pristine, because they're not looking at you just in the interview. they're looking at you in every aspect of the contact that they've had with you. So you need to make sure that your communication is clear. And this is why I also say that in the interview process, you've got to come across as a confident individual, because in HR, you might be communicating messages that are very difficult to communicate. You might be communicating conversations with employees when it comes to performance improvement, or so you're liaising with managers on how to have those conversations with their team, or there might be dismissals that you're involved in. You may be involved in cases where there is a massive transformation that's going on. You might have to be consulting employees and managers around these changes that are happening. How are you communicating that? Now, if you're in the interview and you seem quite shy and reserved, and you don't exert a confidence when you're talking to the interviewer, that might actually be one of the reasons why you didn't get the job, because they need to see how clearly you can communicate as a professional from the offset. That is what they're looking at. They're looking at that clear communication. And also in emails too, there can't be any spelling mistakes. Your grammar needs to be right, because if you're an administrator, you have to be very, very detail oriented. You've got to be paying a lot of attention to detail, because errors can cause drastic effects. Like, yes, obviously everyone makes mistakes, but it has to be limited. It's got to be limited. So this is why I think you need to actually think about your communication and the way that you're presenting yourself when you're in your CV, in your written communication, in your oral communication. It all has to be pristine. That's going to be the difference between you getting the job and someone else getting the job. How you communicate. Trust me, it's something that they're always looking at. They're always looking at it. And I'd also say, just another tip, I guess, for the interview, is scenario-based questions are now questions that are coming up a lot in interviews. They want you to tell them how you're going to solve a problem that they have in their organization. How would you do it? They want you to walk through the whole process from A to B. That is a good way of seeing how somebody articulates themselves when it comes to a problem that needs to be solved. If you're muffling and fumbling your words, then, there's ways of bringing it back, by the way. And if you want to understand that in more detail, please book a call with me so I can understand what your situation is, because I can hopefully be able to help you to create structure to your answers. Even if you mess up, there's still chances of coming back from messing up in an interview. Trust me, I've been there. So I just want you to know communication is important. Please prioritize it in your preparation. And this is why I say practice, practice, practice in every single aspect, especially for that interview. It's going to be an important aspect of you getting that job. So I hope you have enjoyed this video so far, and I did want to also mention that I am starting a program, a coaching and mentorship program called Rise in HR. If you're that person who's like, I have tried everything, Alicia, I've tried everything and I'm just not getting anywhere with my job search right now. I really want to get a job. I need that support and mentorship. I want to know how I can progress as a HR professional once I've got that job as well. Help me out with the interview, Alicia. I need that support. I want to be confident when I'm expressing myself. How do I do all of this, Alicia? How do I even finalize and understand who I am as a person and what type of HR would be best for me? How do I create my vision? If these are some questions that you're like, I need help answering, then I do believe that Rise in HR, my coaching and mentorship program, is possibly for you. It is a 3-month program, and what I would love you to do is, in the link in the description below, you book a one-on-one call with me so we can talk through your challenges, any issues that you've had at the moment. You're just thinking, I just don't know how to solve this, right? Book a one-on-one call with me and let's see if Rise in HR is a suitable program for you to be on. And I'm happy to say that I will be there every step of the way on your journey, personally helping and supporting you to get yourself into the HR field. So I hope this video has been useful for you. I really do. I was very passionate about it when I was talking throughout this whole video. So I hope that you picked up on the energy, and I hope that energy that energy is within you right now. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, after this video, Alicia, I know what I need to do. Someone who's got no experience and they're trying to get into HR, I know what I need to do. I hope that's the feeling that you have now at the end of this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.